Hey, what's up everybody? It's Mike. Welcome back to Money and Life TV. Today we got to talk about Joe Biden and what he means when he gave a speech on July 9th, mentioning that he plans to put an end to shareholder capitalism.
Come again, Captain?
Now, before you completely panic like I did, this doesn't mean that you cannot own shares of stock. You can still own shares of stock, so rest assured that that will not be an issue. And you might be thinking that this topic is only important if Biden actually wins the presidency. But you got to think beyond that, because even if he doesn't win, the next Democratic Party candidate might want to implement some of these same philosophies into their administration. So this is something that, whether you see it now coming up or well into the future, it could be a possibility. So I think it's important that we're aware of some of the theories and ideas they're actually proposing. So what we're going to do is I'm going to be showing you guys some clips from Biden's speech, and then we're going to look at some of the differences between shareholder theory versus stakeholder theory. Now, Biden is a big proponent of stakeholder theory.
Way past time we put an end to the era of shareholder capitalism. The idea the only responsibility a corporation has is with shareholders. That's simply not true. It's an absolute farce. They have responsibility to their workers, their community, to their country.
Now, there's a lot of detail that is missing, so we're going to try to decipher this whole stakeholder theory idea as much as we can to the best of our ability, because there are no definitive details or plans that have been laid out yet. But I'm not surprised whatsoever at that. They usually say these fancy words and leave out the details, and that's no exception here. But as we're going through this, I would love to hear in the comments what you guys think of this as we go over this. As we progress, I would like to weigh in on my opinions on the matter and also discuss how it might impact you as an investor, especially if you own stock of these different companies like Amazon, Microsoft, Procter & Gamble. What is in store for you as an investor in the future, at least in my opinion. But before we talk about the investor portion, I really want to weigh in on how it might impact business operations, because I think that'll be the largest effect of how you operate as a business owner. If you're thinking of starting a business, or even if you're an employee of the business, every part of the operational aspect might change. Your day job might change as well because of this. Also, the amount of available opportunities in the future might change due to this. So there's a lot of factors to consider besides just the investing portion. I want to take a quick second to welcome all the new subscribers to the channel. Welcome to Money and Life TV. If you're new here, we produce videos around finances, investing, and taxes. Now, if you want to support the work I do on this channel, the best thing you can do is subscribe to our channel and also leave a like on the video, comment, and share this video. And people are telling me they're not getting notified when I release new content. So if you do subscribe or are already subscribed, make sure you hit that little button icon, because at least that way you're going to be notified when I release new videos on the channel. With that being said, let's dive in. With shareholder theory, the main assertion is that the company's managers are going to be allocating and spending those resources of the company based on the shareholders' desires or demands. In addition to that, one of the most prominent features of shareholder theory is that the company's resources are going to be used, managed, and utilized in a way to expand the overall company's profits. So in a nutshell, behind shareholder theory, one of the main reasons, if not the main reason, is to build a business, develop the business, is to use its resources to further expand, grow, or develop the profits of the business. In a nutshell, that is a lot, not everything, but a lot of what shareholder theory is about. Now let's discuss stakeholder theory. Stakeholder theory takes a slightly different approach and focuses a little bit less on the profits and looks at more of the different constituencies of which the business impacts. So you think of the community as a whole. So instead of just focusing on the profits, but the management would also focus on not only the interest of its shareholders, but it would also look to that of its suppliers, its customers, its employees, its community, the environment, and all these other outside factors, whether they contribute to the wealth building activities directly of the company or indirectly of the company. That is a little bit of what stakeholder theory is about. Although what is not clear whatsoever is which shareholders would have a say, which customers, which employees, which suppliers, whoever's involved in this would have a say in the way the company manages its profits or its business. That is not detailed out anywhere, so it's really hard to say where that would go. Now, what I would like to do is really just weigh in on these two different subject matters and just share some of my thoughts, my opinions, and like I said, guys, just feel free to share your thoughts down below as well, because I would love to hear them. Now, with the stakeholder theory, what I've learned about it so far is, on the surface, it doesn't sound all that bad. I mean, it looks at telling companies to say, hey, look away a little bit from your profits and also look to your community, to your employees a little bit more, your suppliers, your customer, the environment, things like that. So, and those aren't bad things. They're not whatsoever. But I think it is also unfair, in my opinion, to say that shareholder theory doesn't have to think about those things. I don't know if you've ever started a business or ever ran a business, built a business from scratch, but it's really hard. It's not easy to start a profitable business. There's a lot of factors to contend with. You have competition, you have no guaranteed paycheck coming in, you have a tremendous amount of risk because you're risking your time and your money to start the business. You're hiring employees who may or may not want to work, depending upon what kind of quality employees you can find. Now, who here has observed that, where when you're working at a job, even if you're just an employee, not an employer, where, yeah, you're doing everything you can at your job, you're busting your hump, but then your coworkers, or some of your coworkers, you just observe that their lack of desire to put in effort, their laziness, they're on their phone, they're on Facebook, they are chatting, they're gossiping with the other coworkers, they are taking extra long breaks, they have a bad attitude, they don't want to be there, but they want to be paid. Who knows what I'm talking about? What kind of skills they have. So there's that. And then on top of that, you have taxes to manage, accounting, getting lending options and all these different things depending upon what type of business you're trying to run. And whether you're aware of it or not, there's so many regulations on business owners' shoulders already that you may not already be aware of. So there's all these regulations already in place. Now, under stakeholder theory, it's like, who is going to be this governing body of people who are going to judge your business and how well you're treating your employees, how well that are you treating the environment, your customers, your suppliers, whatever it may be. And the thing is that, are these people going to be shareholders? Do they have any money invested in the business? Likely not, but it sounds like they're going to be able to judge you somehow, some way, and determine whether or not you're a good company, is kind of what I'm gathering is where I would suspect this to go. That's just my opinion. But like in China, they have the social credit system, in which that's a way that businesses are measured in terms of how well they operate and they serve the overall interest of the Communist Party in China. So you take a look at that. That's something they continue to develop, and they are taking it now not only from the business level to the personal level. So I'm wondering if it's gonna turn into something like that. If business owners are gonna be monitored to such a degree, whereas if they're not following these certain social standards or what's deemed socially acceptable by who knows, then if they're gonna be, put out on the naughty list, and their business will be shunned because maybe they don't behave a certain way, they don't act a certain way, they run their business differently than what the party, the people in power, or this governing body, whoever this is going to be, is going to tell them that they need to operate.
So enough is enough. It's time to reverse the priorities in this country. It's time to help small businesses, middle-class folks manage their way through a pandemic. And let's help millions of would-be entrepreneurs get out from under their debts so they can start businesses.
Now, here's the way I think about this, is let's just pretend I'm about to start a new business. Well, I already know to start a new business and to be successful, I have to add values to my customers. I have to attract the best employees. I have to pay them a fair amount, otherwise they won't come to work for me, or they'll eventually leave me for somebody else. I have to think about my suppliers. I have to think about trying to operate in a way that best serves the environment, right? Or at least I should, in theory. But now, here I go, trying to get my business off the ground, And now there's, under stakeholder theory, somehow there's this new governing body who's going to judge me on how well I'm serving my employees, how well I'm serving the environment, the community. They're now looking at me as a business owner even more closely, monitoring my every action. So now, instead of being able to focus just on building the business, trying to get it off the ground, trying to grow the business, I have to worry about all these additional eyes who are watching me now, seeing if what I'm doing, if my behavior is socially acceptable in the way that they demand I build my business, if my business serves their interest. And so it sounds like there could be a lot of additional pressures for business owners, especially for new business owners. So I don't see how this would help small and medium-sized businesses. It seems like there's going to be more compliance requirements, more regulations, so that if, as a new person, as a new business owner, I won't really have the staff or capacity to maybe meet those needs. And so I might think about foregoing starting that business altogether. The businesses that are already established, already making millions, billions of dollars, whatever it may be, well, they can easily afford the resources to hire the people necessary to make sure the company is operating to meet those different metrics of this, under this stakeholder theory. So do I think this stakeholder theory will help smaller mid-sized businesses? I don't know enough about this yet, but maybe not. Now with shareholder theory, yeah, it's not perfect, but at least you can economically measure the value of, the profits of a company or the loss of a company. Versus these other metrics, how do you even measure that? Who is given the right to decide or determine what's right or what's wrong, whether you're doing it this way or that way? Who is to say they know what's right for your business or to how to operate your company? If they're just a stakeholder, which means they're not a shareholder, which actually means they don't have any money invested in your venture, but they want to tell you how to run your business. That doesn't sound too appealing to me. So as an investor, if you think about this from an investing standpoint, if something like this were to come to fruition and they find ways to enforce the stakeholder theory concept and measure businesses based on these different performance measures which they decide, it sounds like the earnings of the business would suffer, in my opinion. So as a shareholder, I would expect profits of these businesses to actually decline, because there's going to be more regulations. Businesses are going to have to spend more money to meet these demands. They're going to have to take some of their focus off building the business versus just serving the needs of the party or whoever is regulating all this. I don't know, but that's just my opinion.
And it's time corporate America paid their fair share of taxes. We thought in our administration we should lower the tax from the high 30s to 28%. The lower to 21. I'm going to raise it back up to 28.
Now, Biden did say in his tax plan, which I'm not going to really go into much detail on his tax plan, but he did say, so the corporate taxes right now are currently around 21% at the highest rate. Well, he would like to raise that up to 28%, take it back higher to what it used to be, so that before Trump was elected, the highest corporate tax rate was around 31%. He would like to, if he becomes president, Biden would like to bump that up to around 28%. So either way, what I'm hearing, if I think about it critically, is that there is going to be potentially more taxes, which will definitely cause the earnings of their businesses to decrease, which would then, in fact, affect the value of your shares and likely drive the share price value of your shares down, and also maybe impact the dividend payments to your companies as well. So not necessarily the best thing, at least on the surface, and this is just all my opinion, for investors or for shareholders of companies if all these new regulations and taxes are going to be rolling out.
The days of Amazon paying nothing in federal income tax will be over.
Me personally, if you're to ask me, if you ignore earnings of investments, if you ignore politics and all that stuff, I would really love to see businesses more so help their employees more and be more willing to share the profits of the business. Because I am personally sick of seeing, especially I'm not talking about like the small mom and pop businesses. I'm really not talking about them. I'm talking about like these large, multi-glamour corporations. And you see time and time again, these CEOs, they get hired, and I don't mean, it's usually not the founders of the company, usually it's somebody else. But they get hired, they bring in this CEO, him or her, they pay him 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 million dollars, whatever it may be. They come in for a few years. They have no regard to the customers of the business, the fan base of the business, how they run the business per se. It doesn't really matter, because even if they mess up, they still are able to walk away with like $20 million, $10 million. They have a golden parachute. It's like they're always ready to jump out of an airplane. They don't really care, because they're going to take their money and run. And the people who suffer is the business, the shareholders of the business, the employees of the business, and so on and so forth. So I am sick of seeing story after story like that. I would love to see that change, and there's got to be a better way to regulate that. Perfect example of a really crummy CEO is Blizzard. Now, if you guys know me, I grew up playing games. I still play Diablo 2 from time to time. I love that game. But Activision Blizzard has now developing a track record for not only bashing the interests of their fans, but their employees as well. As they bring in these CEOs making $30, $40 million a year, when the company's making substantial profits, they're laying their employees off. And while the CEO is just raking in more money than he's ever dreamed of. Whereas in Nintendo, I really applaud Nintendo. Now, this is very encouraging to see. So Nintendo, for example, the CEO, this was back in 2014, where they was starting to lose money. The sales of the 3DS product were down, so the CEO actually cut his own pay in order to reflect that the company wasn't doing well, and also to keep more employees on staff. So there's definitely a different set of moral and ethical values there, and which is not found in all companies, unfortunately. So sharing my final thoughts on this, I think both the stakeholder theory concept and the shareholder theory concept both have pros and cons. There's good things and bad things about both. Any theory taken too far to the extreme, I think, is not a good concept to run with. So I think somewhere in between, there could be a fine balance can be found. Yet, I don't think we're going to see a fine balance of either method. Unfortunately, it's just the world we live in. We can't seem to find the middle ground anymore. It's either far left or far right. Alright guys, well that's the video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, if you do me a favor, give me a thumbs up, and I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the channel. We'll have a lot more videos coming out on finances, investing, and taxes. And what do you think about this, about Biden's stakeholder theory? Do you think it's a good idea, bad idea? Like I said, let me know in the comments. I'm going to look forward to reading what you guys have to say. Until next time, live life uncaged, and I'll see you all in the next episode. Take care, guys. Love you all. Peace.